Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. We are waiting for our viewers to join in and for our guest for the third session of virtual open house for GNI as well. Vai Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh Ji. Can you hear me? And I'm
That's okay, all good. There's a little bit of a delay when I hear you.
okay. So I introduced to you the faculty for our SIKH Ethos and Social Justice course, Dr. Sharanjit Kaur Sandhra. She is joining us live to tell us more about the course, which is rather a specialty for our session. Dr. Sandhra, what can you tell us about the course?
Yeah, I think I first want to acknowledge that Dr. Rita Damoon, University of Victoria. Um, but I think the course really explores Sikh Canadian history and the theme of social justice, which I think is at the heart of being a Sikh, is at the heart of the way we function, the way we live, the way we do things. And so, for me, as a Canadian historian who does look at Sikh history, it was the perfect way to combine two themes. So we do infuse passages from Gurbani, but like every week, incorporated in connection to the themes that I talk about each week. So it is driven by this idea of social justice, using Gurbani as a model, of course, but then talking about Sikh Canadian history.
So this course is touted to be, something which is very unique to GNI. So can you elaborate a little more on what topics are covered under this course?
Yeah, I mean, we look at the idea of feminism. We look at the idea of solidarity with other movements, including Black Lives Matter. We just talked about caste last weekend and had a very robust discussion, including a guest visit from a dear friend of mine as well. Looking at Dalit communities and how Dalit communities are often oppressed, even within the Sikh community. Those have been some of the more interesting classes. We've looked at the concept of langar. Again, everything that we talk about is connected to Sikh Canadian history. So we explore caste in Canada, we explore langar in Canada, we talk about gender in Canada as well, so that people really get a sense of what does our community look like here.
So why do you think that somebody who is in Canada or wants to know about the Sikh diaspora in Canada, why is it important for them to understand the Sikh ethos and social justice per se as a whole?
Um, I think we need something to grasp onto and hold onto when we talk about Sikhi. So for those of us in the diaspora, like I look at my children as well, right? We do the practice of Sikhi as a performative in many ways. Like we'll go to the Gurdwara when there's a wedding, we'll go to the Gurdwara when somebody's doing a langar, or if there's a birth or a death. So it becomes part of these things that happen in our life, moments in our life, as opposed to the daily lived practice of how we engage with Barney and engage it daily. We take part in a daily practice of social justice without having to necessarily step foot in a gurdwara. What does that look like? So I want, especially like Sikh Canadians, to understand how that functions and how we can find our sense of place around social justice and Sikhi. And it doesn't always have to be going with the family to the Gurdwara. There's other ways we can learn through our ETHOS, for example.
So essentially, it is in line with the thought that Sikhi is a way of life and not just in name. That is
Yeah.
what this course is trying to incorporate in itself.
Absolutely, and like I've shown examples of things happening on social media. We watch popular like films, we listen to podcasts. So my model of teaching is not me lecturing at people for a very long time. It is me incorporating things that are tangible to my students. even TikTok videos. This is how students learn, right? Let's analyze what is taking place in the discourse of Sikhi, but bring that back to what does our Bani actually say? What does our daily lived practice say? And engage in a conversation. Some of the most exciting conversations we had was, for example, around the Nagar Kirtan, right? I had students who were from Punjab and Sindh, Pakistan, and then a student here living in Canada. And we had such an amazing discussion around problematic things taking place in Nagar Kirtans in Punjab and how Nagar Kirtans take place here and how, we challenge that to say, is that a Sikh ethos? When does langar become all about food as opposed to, the beauty and praxis of like revolutionary ways of displaying our Gurbani on the streets. And in Canada, that has a very specific history because we were denied so long, right? We were denied access to do Nagar Kirtans. The physicality of taking that space on Indigenous lands, too, which we need to acknowledge, is an important conversation. That was one of my favorite classes. We ended up just talking like for half an hour or an hour about Nagar Kirtans. So it's exciting. It's exciting topics that we talk about.
So, according to you, who all should, take this course? Who all should be interested in this course?
It's interesting when the Institute was putting out promotions for the course again next semester. I received an email from the assistant superintendent of our school district where I live here. So he's not Sikh, and he was like, Sharon, I'm really interested in taking this course. So I shared the syllabus with him, and I'm hoping he's going to take it. Why I mention this is because the course is not for Sikhs only. The course is for anybody who wants to understand Sikhi, its philosophy, its practice, its Gurbani, but what is our history here in Canada? We often don't look at it in detail. Again, we talk about things like the Kamagera Maru only. The Kamagera Maru isn't our only story. We have such a layered and complex story that we're still dealing with today, right? So I'm really excited. I hope he does take the course because it'll be a chance for people whose students are Sikh, right? Whose colleagues are Sikh, whose coworkers are Sikh, to say, I need to learn about your practice and I don't want to keep bothering you or burdening you to teach me because I need to learn myself. So I say this to say anybody can take the course. It is open to anybody who is not a Sikh, but especially if you are a Sikh and you want to learn about your own faith and teach me too. I've had students teach me so many amazing things. It is open to you.
Okay, so now if we talk about the course per se as its format, so
Hmm.
do you give more assignments? What is the format of the course like? Would you
Yeah.
like to elaborate on that a little?
Yeah, great question. So, I might, yeah, well, we do one Indigenous land reflection assignment in the beginning of the course, and that really begins by us understanding what the word Indigenous means. In the Canadian context, it is very, very important. It's very important in terms of Sikhi and social justice and solidarity. That's the first assignment you're asked to do, and it's about 2 pages long. All of my assignments are shorter in length because I'm looking more for the depth in the answers and the way you engage and explore rather than the longevity of the pages. So that's your first assignment. After that, you have reflections based on the readings you are doing. So you get to choose your 4 favorite academic articles that you've read, and we read some really interesting academic articles, and you write a reflection on it, saying, I really like this article because of this reason, or I didn't because of this. And it's very, again, fluid and organic. And then we do a seva assignment. So as we know, seva is, a core practice and a core way of how we live as Sikhs. But first we need to understand, what does seva mean? And is there a way that we can expand our idea of seva? So for example, I do tours of the Heritage Gurdwara here in Abbotsford. It's the oldest still standing Gurdwara in the Western Hemisphere. I get called on all the time to give tours to younger children, to schools, to teachers, educators. I consider that my seva to my community because it's not a part of any job. It's something that just fills me with passion, and I'm imparting Sikhi knowledge to other people. So that's an example of seva. Seva can be in the Gurdwara, of course, but seva can be outside the Gurdwara too. So I want students to choose one act of seva and then reflect on that. Again, a short written assignment and then a final exam.
I see that you enjoyed teaching this program. I really
Yes.
can see that.
I really have. I think my favorite part has been the conversation. So my format for the course is usually this. I will lecture for about 20 to 30 minutes, not very long, and then I will show a video or we'll listen to a podcast or I will do, we'll have a reflection about what we've just watched. Then we end with a group breakout work. I always like to have like a archival document or something where I put them in a separate room and they just talk to each other. And I think this is really important because A, the students across the globe get to learn about each other, and B, they're separated from me for a little bit. Sometimes there is that intimidation of having an instructor listen to you as you're talking and analyzing. So I give them that time and then we regroup again. So the class is split up where those 3 hours goes by like that. It goes by really fast.
So, since this is an online format, how do you find it, and what is the feedback you've received from the students? Because it is not something everybody is used to.
Yeah.
For some, it is actually the first time they're taking classes online. So, how did they feel about it?
Um, I'm a big fan of Zoom. So when the pandemic was happening, I had to start teaching on Zoom instantly. I'm very comfortable with Zoom, and I think all the students who I've had are also comfortable with Zoom, as well as the Moodle platform that we are using through the Institute as well. I think it's accessible. I think it's simple. I have my own, Granonic Institute Gmail address, so students are more than welcome to email me using that address as well. So if you keep the communications line multifaceted, we're good. So the Zoom has been amazing for the students to use.
ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਆਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿਊਅਰਸ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਮੈਂਟਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ ਐਂਡ ਆਈ ਵਿਲ ਆਸਕ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸੰਦਰਾ that question and we will try to answer that as well. Okay, so my next question is that ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਇਹ ਕੋਰਸ ਸੋਚ ਰਿਹਾ ਲੈਣ ਦੀ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇਨਕਰੇਜ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਕੀ ਕਹੋਗੇ?
Um, I think ਡਰੋ ਨਾ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਤੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਟ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਬੋਰਿੰਗ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ। ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਬੱਚੇ ਲਾਈਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਸੁਣਨ ਸਿੱਖਣ। History isn't always a favorite subject. I make this course really fun and I make it relevant. So ਮੇਰਾ ਕਹਿਣ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਆ ਲਾਈਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੁਝ ਸਾਡੇ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਈ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ, I always connect. ਧਾਗਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਦਾ ਧਾਗਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੁੜਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ। There's always a connection from the past to the present. So I always make things that are happening in the world around us relevant to the course content. And I make the course interesting through the use of, like I said, podcasts, YouTube videos, TikToks, Twitter posts, you name it. I use it in the class. So I think ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਅੱਛਾ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਸਿਖਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। So I think ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡਰੋ ਨਾ। History is fun. History should be fun, but history should also be, engaging.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to understand a faith or anything, even a school of thought, I don't think you can do it without knowing the history behind it.
Yeah.
कुछ भी random नहीं हो सकता। मेरा personal view तो यही है।
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, the past, but also ਹੁਣ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਅੱਜ ਕੀ conversations ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਆ, and that includes conversations ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਲੜਦੇ ਆ। Let's dive in and say ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਇੱਥੇ। Let's be brave enough to jump in with respect always, with respect and care, because that too is our Sikhi philosophy, with humility.
Nimarta is something which Guru Nanak always said that every Sikh should have nimar hovo, है ना? ते बाकी मैंने ये दसो that we use Moodle as the platform for learning management system. ਅਸੀਂ Moodle use ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. How has that helped? How has that been an asset for you and the students as well?
As an instructor, it's been a huge asset. I use something called Blackboard for my courses here at University of the Fraser Valley, and I'm teaching at UBC next term as well, so we'll be using a different platform. So I was worried. I was like, oh, another platform I have to learn. It was very easy. It is, but also because the staff at Guru Nanak Institute helped do everything for me. So they created the course, uploads, the course readings, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ। ਸੋ ਮਦਦ ਵੀ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਸੌਖਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ।
Credit goes to Gurjeet Kaur.
Oh yeah.
For that entirely. She is the spearhead, she's spearheading this whole Moodle thing.
Yeah.
So she's a force in herself.
Yeah, apps. Shout out to Gurjeet. I agree. And ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ email ਕਰਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, like ਫਟਾਫਟ ਉਹਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, which I really appreciate. I hope students use it more. So ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ message board ਹੈਗਾ, for example, Moodle ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਦੋ ਵਾਰੀ students ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ use ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ, ਹੁਣ ਘੱਟ use ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਹੁਣ email prefer ਕਰਦੇ ਆ. So again, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ, comfortable ਲੱਗਦਾ, ਵਰਤ ਲਓ, because Gmail ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਜਾਂ Moodle ਤੇ ਵੀ. So I'm hoping ਜੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ enrollment ਹੋਊਗੀ, ਇਸ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਆ ਕਿ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ students comfortable ਹੋ ਜੂਗੇ using Moodle. So for now, because my enrollment was a bit smaller, they've been using Gmail mostly.
Your enrollment was a bit smaller, you say, but I think it was very spread out and very global.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I said, so we had a student from University of Ontario. I had, I think 3 or 4 students from Punjab. And then I had a doctor a physician from Sindh, Pakistan. And again, having his perspective, he himself is a lovely, humble person. But, I personally don't have a physical idea of Sindh de vich ki kuch ho reha hai. ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਆ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ. So he brought in that perspective. So my hope is next semester it'll be a global class, because that means everybody comes in with their global perspective on SIKH.
Yeah, we can imagine if the first batch is so global, how the coming batches would be. It is
Yeah.
going to be very exciting, I feel.
Yes, I
So,
agree.
yeah, give us some idea about how and when this semester is going to end.
This semester is ending. I've got 2 classes left, and then they're taking a take-home exam, the last class, which they have a week to hand in to me. So I'm giving them time to write their essay, as opposed to having 3 ending classes, they have 2. And I hope in that way, ਜੇ ਕੁਛ ਡਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਲਿਖਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ, they can reach out to me. I want to support them and write the best essays possible. So we're down into the home stretch. Just 3 classes left, essentially.
And the first batch of this course would be there
Yeah,
graduating for this. That's nice.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So as per my understanding, you would be taking like teaching the next semester as well.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's really great. And we've had students telling us that they've enjoyed your course
Oh,
like
good.
anything. The discussions have been so insightful and fruitful for them. So
Oh, good.
we are very glad that you are here teaching at GNI. So I want to tell the audience that this semester is ending in December and the next semester is beginning in January, but the last date for enrollment is December 10. Any last words of encouragement, because we are like almost there in terms of time? Any last word of encouragement?
Yeah,
Uh,
one thing I would say is ਜਿਹੜੇ students university ਚ ਪੜ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਮੈਂ encourage ਕਰੂੰਗੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਦੇ deans, vice presidents, department heads ਕੋਲ ਜਾਓ ਤੇ ਪੁੱਛੋ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ, can you get transfer credits? This is really important. So ਮੈਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ, especially British Columbia ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਜਿਹੜੇ SIKH courses related courses ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਮ ਨੇ, but also there's not enough SIKH instructors teaching those courses, and you lose a bit of emotion, you lose a bit of affect and love when you don't have a SIKH person teaching that content. So in lieu of that, my advice to you is go to your deans and say, there's this great opportunity. Can I get transfer credit because you don't offer this course? And I'm pretty sure the Institute will help support that, because like I said, one of my students already is doing that. So I
yeah,
think that'll be
yeah.
good.
Yeah, the institute provides all the details the
Yeah.
university needs. Yes, and there's one question that you mentioned, that you bring guest speakers. Can you tell us,
Yes.
like, what is the criteria that you select them as, like, based on what criteria?
Yeah, so I've been working here in my community for about 15 years. And through that work, I've built many relationships with colleagues who are part of organizations that are like working against caste. So the guest speaker that I had come in last week, she's the founder of the Poetic Justice Foundation, Anita Lal. But we also had to read about her family story. So her family, as far as we know, is one of the first Dalit families to come to Canada in 1906. And I'm lucky to call her a dear friend. So she came, spoke about her organization and how they're doing anti-caste work, but also her family history. I'm hoping to have somebody from Khalsa Aid come next week as well, again, because I have good relationships and friendships with people like that. So anybody who I bring in is somebody I have vetted because I know they are invested in the work of SIKH and they are invested in the work of social justice. So this was my first time bringing somebody in. I hope to bring more. Actually, I hope to bring in somebody at least every other week next semester. But let's see, depends on planning.
Yeah, I think your network is such a big gift for GNI. Honestly,
Oh,
this course is become such a multi-dimensional course because you bring in such talented and
oh,
historical people. I would say because as you said, Anita Lal, she came, her family came here so long ago, and
yeah,
she has become, some people, some families become a part of the history,
yeah.
and they shape future of for so many people. I think
Mm.
you recognize those and bring such people in, and it
Oh,
brings such a great perspective into the class at that time.
oh, thank
So,
you.
yeah, I would like to reiterate that the last date for admissions, sending in your admission applications is December 10. Kindly note it and contact us at www.gurunanakinstitute.ca. There is a form there which you can fill and send it to us, and we will get back to you with all the required paperwork which is needed. And after that, this, I would also like to say that the next session is going to be in 2 weeks time on December 8th. So look out for this at this space, and we will get back to you. Thank you, Dr. Sandra, for such a lovely session,
Oh,
and we hope to see you again soon.
thank you so much.
Thank
It's my
you.
honor. Bye.
Bye.